Hello and welcome to Vegas Aces live stream. I'm your host, Heather Ferris, and today's guest is Pip. No, we're just kidding. So thank you so much for joining us. Today we are going to be talking about the 5 ways to handle angry players. Again, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions during this live stream about this topic or anything other than this, please feel free to put it in the comments and I will answer it for you. So again, my name is Heather Ferris. If you're brand new to the channel, Vegas Aces is here for players and dealers. We teach people how to play and deal casino table games, and we help people get into the industry. Now, before we get started, I just want to remind you to subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you're always notified of our latest videos and live streams. And it is good to see everyone here today. Fantastic. Also, too, by the way, we have a 3 p.m. live stream with the Wizard of Odds. The odds must be crazy, so please join us. Now, again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat and let's get started. So, number 1, first thing to do when handling an angry player, count to 10. Now, I know this seems obvious, but a lot of people don't do it. Now, it's extremely normal for people to get angry in this business. That's going to happen. You're going to see angry players. That's just the way it is. And part of your job is handling these people. Again, we're a customer service industry, so sometimes we have to handle angry people. And as soon as you realize the conversation is getting heated and things are escalating and you feel that anger, as soon as you realize that this is happening, I want you to stop, take a few deep breaths, and count to 10. Now, the reason why I want you to count to 10, I want you to stop, take a deep breath, take a few deep breaths, count to 10. The reason why I want you to do this is because this will give you enough time for your rational portion of your brain to kick in. So that way you're not just purely reacting on the fight and flight instinct. Or response. So again, count to 10, and this gives you enough time for your portional part of your brain to kick in, and that way you don't lose your temper. You can remain calm, you can remain composed, and you don't want to react to what an angry player is saying or doing, because then that's just going to escalate the situation and make things worse, not better. So that is step number 1. Now, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat real quick. Okay, just a sec. Lots of chatter. Awesome. Don't see any questions. Lots of people saying hi. Cool. Good to see everyone. Sorry I won't be able to say hi individually. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comments and I will answer your questions for you either about this topic or anything else you might have a question with. Now, let's go to step number 2. Step number 2 is to actually listen. Now, I know this may seem a little weird, but sincerely listening to what the player is saying and taking the time to figure out what the player wants, this will help immensely in the long run. You want to try to attempt attempt to understand what the problem is. If you can understand what the problem is and see things from the player's perspective, some players just want that. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to solve anything for them. You don't have to do anything. In fact, you're sort of acting a bit like a therapist in a way. And all that requires is listening and being a bounce board. So just take in what they're saying and actually, see it from their point of view, listen to what they're saying. This just helps immensely. Some people just want to rant. Some people just want to sit down and they want someone who doesn't know them, doesn't know the people in their lives, can't go back and talk with other people about what they said. And they just want to sit there and do a verbal dump. They just want to rant and get things off their shoulders, and they're not expecting you to solve all of their problems. And this helps, just listening, just, trying to see things from their point of view. This helps a lot. Okay, so that was step number 2. Now, before we go on to step number 3, I just want to remind you to always tip your dealer. And now you can with Super Chat. Super Chat is a way YouTube allows you to show your appreciation by tipping me any amount you want. Go ahead, give it a try, or show your support by becoming a member of our Patreon page. We have several different levels and rewards for you to choose from. Any membership level counts, even $1, so please go join today. Also, too, before we continue, we have updates on the website. Go check it out. I redid the articles page and everything is rearranged, so let me know what you think. Go check it out. Now, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see if you have any questions before we continue on with number 3. Scorned One says, so just keep calm and use force. No, don't kill the player. That will make a bad day even worse, because going to jail sort of sucks, especially for the rest of your life. And, all the publicity of murdering someone and all that. So yeah, don't kill your player. It won't be good. It'll make a bad day worse. That's a good question. So Joey has a question, and it is, having angry customers not abiding with social distancing and totally ignoring what you are trying to explain to them. What do? We don't have security. So normally what you do in that situation is you would call over your floor supervisor. It's the floor supervisor's responsibility to handle ruly customers, people who won't settle down. If any of the 5 tips that I give you today doesn't help and they're still angry and throwing cards and ashtrays at you and being, just really horrible, then call over the floor supervisor and let the floor supervisor handle the situation. Stay silent, don't talk. Let the floor supervisor do their thing. And the floor supervisor will either accommodate the player or they'll kick the player out. You might not have security, but you probably have 86ing. Most casinos can 86 a player. So that's probably what would happen, is the player would be 86. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Joey. Thank you for asking. And Dane says, use the force, not use force. Use the force. It was a Star Wars thing. Totally went over my head. Totally missed the Star Wars reference. Okay. Thank you, Dane, for pointing that out. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments and I will respond. Okay, so going on is step number 3. Step number 3 is to sympathize. Sympathize. Now, sympathizing acknowledges another person's emotional hardship and provides comfort and assurance. So you want to try to sympathize with your players. You want to acknowledge their emotional hardships. You want to acknowledge what they're saying. Again, it goes back to step number 2, listen to them. Listen to what they have to say, and then provide comfort and assurance. Those are tough rocks, man. I'm sure your wife will come around. Whatever the situation's going on, respond appropriately. And try to offer some kind of comfort. So that is step number 3, sympathize. Now, as far as sympathy goes, most of the time, disgruntled players, they just want someone to listen to them. You would actually be really surprised by how many irate customers will settle down once they have your attention and your sympathy. Problems are opportunities in disguise, and opportunities means tokes. You could actually, get some tokes from this. If you listen to someone, sympathize with them, be that soundboard that I was telling you about, because again, part of this is being like a therapist. Some people will appreciate it and they'll give you more tips, more tokes for this, and you can actually give yourself a raise by doing this. If you want to know more about giving yourself a raise, I actually have a course. Go to vegas-aces.com, the courses tab at the very top, and you'll see the course, How to Give Yourself a Raise. And we talk about this subject in that course. Now, let's go on. So step number 3 was sympathize. Let's go on to step number 4. So step number 4 is don't fight back. Dealers should never get into a disagreement with a player. But saying that is kind of like unrealistic because it's going to happen. But you want to try to not fight back. You want to try to not make a situation worse than it already is. If there's a dispute, again, then the floor supervisor needs to be called over. And when he comes over and asks what's happening, don't lie. Be honest. Arguments are going to happen because that's the way it is. You're meeting a lot of people from all around the world, and sometimes personalities clash, and that's just the way it is. It's not anything against you. It's just the way human beings are. So when that happens, don't lie. Be honest. Arguments are going to happen because, again, they always do. And there's nothing anyone can do to avoid it. So the best thing to do when you find yourself in that situation is to tell the truth. Now, if the dealer has an argument with the player, they will always come out looking bad. That's why you don't want to get into an argument with a player. If you notice that you're starting to raise your voice and it's above like the normal conversational level, again, stop yourself, check yourself, count to 10, take a few deep breaths, call over the floor supervisor so that way they can handle the situation, and make sure you stay quiet. Because if you get mad and if you start yelling, that's going to get you in trouble. That's not going to do anything against the player. It's just going to make you look bad. So that's why you don't want to fight back. Also, to remember that, and this is, again, a little bit of psychology for people out there who don't know this, but people naturally tend to mirror one another. So if you're level-headed, if you're patient, if you're kind, the other player, the angry player, will eventually start mirroring your behavior, because that's just what we normally do as, human beings. That's just a psychology type of a thing. So keep that in mind. If you escalate, if you get mad, if you fight back, they're going to escalate, they're going to get mad, they're going to fight back, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse. So keep in mind that people mirror your behavior. If you are patient, if you are listening, if you're kind, if you're level-headed, the player is more likely to mirror your behavior eventually, not right away, but eventually. Then this will help de-escalate the situation and keep things from getting worse than they could be. Okay, so next one. Let's see. Okay, so we did 4. So 4 was don't fight back. Now, before we go on to number 5, let's go through and see what you guys are saying in the chat real quick. See if you guys have any questions before we go on to step number 5. Okay, so let's see what you guys are saying. So Dane says, what do you do if sympathy causes escalation? If sympathy causes escalation and things get worse? Sorry about that. Pip had something to say about that. So again, remember, when you sympathize with someone, you acknowledge to them that their emotional hardships. You provide validation to what they're saying. You're listening to them rant. By doing that, that's not going to escalate the situation. So there's not a chance that by providing comfort and assurance that that type of sympathy will escalate and things will get worse. If you do listen and provide sympathy and provide comfort and assurance, and you listen to the person and you validate their, feelings and beliefs, and they do escalate, there's something seriously wrong with them, and you need to not deal with that. So that's when you call over the floor supervisor and have them deal with the situation, because when things get out of control, when you can't handle it, call over the floor supervisor. But sympathy shouldn't escalate this situation. And again, remember, people mirror other people. So if you're level-headed, if you're patient, if you listen, if you offer that degree of sympathy towards them, they're less likely to escalate. In fact, these are all de-escalation tactics. And that's the whole point. You want to de-escalate. You don't want to escalate the situation. And again, that's part of number 4, don't fight back. If you fight back, you're escalating the situation. So I hope that answers your question, Dane. Let me know if you have another one. Let's see. Sweet. Thank you very much, Domestic, for your super chat. Really do appreciate it. When I get a chance, I will give Pip some treats. I just don't have any in the arm length area, but I will do that. Thank you very much for the super chat, Domestic. And if you guys feel like tipping your dealer, you guys can also do a super chat as well. The super chat perks are still available. I would just have to actually get up and go get it. So I didn't bring it with me. I should have brought it with me. Let's see what else you guys are saying real fast in here. You guys are doing a whole bunch of Star Wars references. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. And again, if you want to see more, we are doing a live stream with the Wizard of Odds at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The odds must be crazy. That is in an hour and a half. So I hope to see you guys there. So Vodka Tonic says, is it acceptable to tase an annoying player? Again, you want to de-escalate the situation, and tasing a player will either escalate the situation or give the player a heart attack. Either way, not good. Don't do it. Tase would be for someone who took way too many drugs and now thinks they're like He-Man or King Kong, or is having a seriously bad trip. Then tase them. Yeah, there are some situations where tasing might be a good idea, but otherwise de-escalate. Don't do, don't do that. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Rocky, for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Now, normally $5 gets you guys a story. So if you guys, either Rocky or Domestic, if you guys think of a story that you want me to share, let me know and I will tell you one. I've seen a player tase when he got aggressive with security. Security must have really been mad at him then. In that case, that's security's problem. When it gets to the point where security has a problem with them, that's their That's their problem. That's not on you anymore. As the dealer, you go up the chain of command. So you deal with it first. And here are some steps. Here are the 5 steps of how you could deal with it. And then if it gets any worse than that, it goes to the floor supervisor. And if it gets worse than that, it goes to security. And when security is tasing, you know it's hit the level. Like it's gone over the top right there. Let's see. This is a bit off topic, but I did have an experience where a lady was at the roulette table and she collapsed on the floor and needed medical attention. Perhaps this is a question for another day. If anything like this happens, because it does happen, I've seen people have heart attacks at the table. I've seen this kind of stuff happen. I've seen a lot. If this happens, call over your floor supervisor right away, and he will notify security. Security will usually have, it depending on the casino, some casinos will have an EMT on their security detail. So they'll have someone come and like help the person right away, or they'll call, the ambulance staff to help them. But if you ever see anything like this, let your floor supervisor know right away so he can notify the appropriate department in order to administer the medical detail. Okay. Very good question. Thank you. How do you handle other players trying to tell someone else how to play their hand or getting mad over how someone else is playing? This would happen all the time on my table. And again, you don't want to go in there full force. You want to try to cushion this as much as possible, because sometimes people are having a bad day and them controlling other people makes them feel better, but that's not allowed at the table. The thing is those players are playing with their money that they worked for, so they could do whatever they want with their money. Another player telling them how to play their money is just unacceptable. Having someone, especially when they're trying to bully them, and get upset and you're not playing by the book and all of that stuff, as the dealer, remind that player, sir, you are in charge of your hand. They are in charge of theirs. You are putting your money on your hand. They are putting their money on theirs. If you put money on their hand, then you can, tell them how to play, but you're not doing that. That's not your money. That's their money. They're the ones in charge of their money, and they're the ones in charge of their hand. You, sir, are in charge of your money, and you're in charge of your hand. So that's just not acceptable. And it doesn't make for a good playing environment for the other player. So again, part of your job as a dealer is to keep players on the table for as long as possible. You're not going to keep players on the table for a long period of time if you have a player bullying another player, telling them how to play. Sir, if you don't like how he's playing, you can go move to another table. You can move to a table where there's no other players and no one's going to mess you up. But having them ruin that experience for that other player is just not acceptable. And as the dealer, you're in charge of your table. You're in control of your table, and you need to assert that control in a nice way where you notify the player that that behavior is just not acceptable. Okay, so I hope I answered your question. Please let me know if you have another one. Let's see what else you guys are saying. So any funny story of an irate player that became a happy player? Yes. It's not a story I tell often just because it's not as entertaining as some of my other stories. But one of the fun things that I would do when I was a dealer was I took it as a challenge that if I had an angry player, if I had an irate player, if I had someone who was just a real jerk, it would be a challenge to me to try to brighten the guy's day up. And by the time he left, we would be like friends, we would be laughing, we would be talking, and if I ever had a player like that, that would be like my personal challenge, because Well, I was dealing blackjack, and by then I was so bored with blackjack, I needed something else to do with my, brain. So that's what I would do. And I would have guys, old guys that were grumpy and having a bad day and, all sorts of things. And it didn't work for every player that I tried this on. It worked for at least half of them, which I think is a fantastic success. But some of them got even more angry because I was cheerful and I wanted to talk with them. And again, that goes back to reading the player. If the player wants you to stay silent, sometimes you should just stay silent. Again, every player is different. But it's not really a story. It's just something that I would try to do. So I hope that was a good answer for you. I bet a free purple chip would help de-escalate the situation. Yeah, no kidding, right? So Thomas says, how do you handle people who don't know how to play and they keep asking for rules and advice? That's part of being a dealer. So that is your job description, is you teach people how to play the game. You give them advice. You let them know what the rules are. You let them know what's going on. That's part of your job as being a dealer. You want people to come up to your table. You don't want them to be intimidated. You want to be open and friendly and welcoming. So that way people could feel like they could sit at your table and learn something new and they can have fun with it. So that's part of your job as a dealer, is to do that. Okay, so let's go over the 4 things that I talked about, and then we'll discuss the 5th way to handle an angry player. First thing you do is you count to 10. Number 2 is you listen. Remember, sometimes being a therapist is all they want, and sometimes that's what you do as a dealer, is you listen. You be that soundboard that they need. 3, sympathize with them. And again, when you sympathize, you acknowledge another person's emotional hardships and provide comfort and assistance. Number 4, you don't fight back. You keep calm. You keep level-headed. You remember that people mirror other people. So if you act the way you want them to act, they'll eventually mirror your behavior. And number 5, last one for the today's live stream. Number 5 is distract. And this is a good one. Just like a little toddler having a temper tantrum, what you do is you distract. Do they have a jersey of their favorite team? Maybe if you like that team too, you can, talk about the team. Distract them from what they're thinking about. Distract them from what they're having a problem about. If you know that the person really likes a certain TV show, ask them if they saw the latest episode. If you know that you and this certain player have, this one hobby in common, maybe bring that hobby up and ask them, hey, you did a really fantastic job doing this and that. How did you do it? That's just so amazing. And people love talking about themselves. If you don't have a certain topic to distract them with, ask them about themselves, ask them about their lives. Some people really, really love talking about themselves. So distract them by talking about the things that they enjoy. If you distract them from what is angering them, if you distract them from what is making them mad, then you will have a lot easier time having them at the table. So again, if the player's in a bad mood, instead of waiting for a fight to happen, or if a fight has already started, try to distract them. Again, I know this is bad to say, but some people are like toddlers. So just like a toddler, when they have a little temper tantrum, oh, no problem, we could distract you, and you won't think about what you were having a problem with. And it works with adults just as well as it works with kids, believe it or not. So again, try to talk about a subject they're interested in. Try to talk about something that they find interesting. A lot of people find themselves interesting. So if you talk about themselves, if you talk about them, that will distract them. If you're upbeat, if you're positive, this will disconnect the guests from their foul mood and it will take them to a better place. So that is the 5 ways to handle an angry player. 1, count to 10. 2, listen. 3, sympathize. 4, don't fight back. And 5, distract. Now, let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let me see if you have any questions real quick. Again, if you want more information on this topic and other customer service skills, check out the link in the description below. And we have a whole course up on Teachable where we discuss this and other customer service related skills. It's how to give yourself a raise. So let's see what you guys are saying real quick. I have a funny distraction story. It didn't go so well. He was doing the negative progression method on blackjack. He lost 4 hands in a row. He decided to bet big with green chips on 3 spots. Dealer blackjack. Ouch. Okay, so we'll see what happens. So he was fuming. I was like, hey, did you ever go to the Sportsman Warehouse in the mall? He just shrugged. And this is from Ari. And while we're waiting for him to finish that up, join me. Check out my next live stream on Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm really excited. We are going to be interviewing Benny Mancino. He is the Vice President of Table Game Operations at Hard Rock. So really, really looking forward to that. We are going to be discussing 5 ways to improve your floor supervisor skills. So please join us on Monday for that. Really looking forward to that. Okay, so he shrugged. He said, I don't give a about them all. I only care about you paying my money back. Pay me back my money and then we can be friends. Yes, this does happen. They are a little feisty. Expect a little feistiness with them. Don't, you need to have a thick skin in this industry. People are going to be rude. They're going to be asses, especially when they're angry players. And again, what you want to do is remember that people mirror other people. If you're level-headed, if you're cool, if you're calm, if you're collected, if you just, go with the flow and ride the wave, things will be a lot easier. If you have a player like that, where if you attempt to stay distracted and it doesn't work, that's okay. Let's try something else. It's just like a video game. If one way doesn't work, let's try a different way. So, ask him, how well do you know the player? I think that's the first thing that we need to establish when trying to figure out how to handle the player is, do you know the player well? Do you know what they like? Do you know what they enjoy? Go with that. If you don't know what the player likes, if you don't know anything about the player, that's when you're going to have to start, throwing darts in the, what do you call it? Throwing darts in the dark. Is that what you call it? It was a phrase. I think I totally screwed up the phrase. But you do just what you did. You try to distract. You talked about, a subject. The subject didn't hit. It didn't work with him. That's okay. Try a different subject. If he doesn't like that, try a different subject. Ask an open-ended question. If you ask him an open-ended question, you're more likely to be able to feel out what they like and what they don't like. If you have a player who acts like that and all he wants you to do is just stay silent, go ahead and just stay silent. So read the player. Try to, again, you're sort of playing therapist. Try to figure out, what makes them tick. And go in that direction. I hope that helped answer your question. Let me see what else you guys are saying real quick. Okay, so if you have a question, speak now or forever hold your peace. Again, check out our live stream at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I'm going to be doing an AMA, Ask Mike Anything, with the Wizard of Odds at the channel The Odds Must Be Crazy. Just a quick reminder, Vegas Aces is supported by viewers like you. Donations make these videos possible. If you think this video was worth more than $0, please donate the amount you feel it's worth by clicking the link in the description below. I don't see any more questions, so thank you guys so much for joining me. Good to see everyone in the chat, and I hope to see you either at 3 p.m. today or on Monday at 1 p.m. for our interview. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. Have a good one, you guys. Bye.